The Alabaster Ultimatum. The 52nd floor of Corvus Industries hummed with whispered rumors. Olivia Reed clutched her tablet tighter as she approached the frosted glass doors of the executive suite. Her reflection fragmented across the surface. 3 years as a senior financial analyst had never brought her this close to Harrison Blackwood, the reclusive CEO whose name graced the building, but whose face rarely appeared outside financial magazines. "He's ready for you," said the assistant, her voice dropping to a reverent whisper. Olivia stepped into the vast office, all white marble and glass. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the city sprawled below like a circuit board of light and shadow. Harrison Blackwood stood with his back to her, a silhouette against the afternoon sky. "Ms. Reed," he said without turning, "thank you for your punctuality." "Of course, Mr. Blackwood." Her voice sounded steadier than she felt. When he finally turned, Olivia was struck by how ordinary he appeared. Mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, eyes that seemed to calculate rather than see. He gestured to a chair positioned precisely across from his desk. "Do you know why you're here?" His question hung in the air. Olivia considered lying, but something in his expression suggested he already knew the answer. "I believe so, sir." "Enlighten me." He sat down, fingers forming a steeple beneath his chin. "The quarterly financial reports. There are discrepancies I've been investigating." "Investigating?" He repeated the word as if tasting it. "Outside your assigned duties." "Yes, sir." Harrison nodded slowly. The silence stretched between them, uncomfortable and deliberate. Through the windows, clouds gathered, casting the office in shifting shadows. Still, he said nothing. Watching her with unwavering attention, Olivia fought the urge to fill the silence. She'd learned long ago that power often rested with those comfortable in quietude. Instead, she matched his gaze, her breathing measured. After what felt like eternity, he opened a drawer and removed a thin folder, actual paper, not digital, and slid it across the desk. "Open it," he said. Inside was a single document, her complete profile. Not just her employment history, but personal details. Her student loans, her mother's medical bills, the mortgage on her small apartment. "You've been with us 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days, Harrison said. "Graduated summa cum laude from Stanford. Turned down positions at 3 competing firms to join us. Exemplary performance reviews. And now this curiosity." "It's not curiosity, Mr. Blackwood. It's my job to ensure financial accuracy." "Your job," he said, leaning forward, "is what I define it to be." Another silence fell. Outside, rain began to speckle the windows. "The discrepancies you found total approximately $47 million, Harrison finally continued. "Diverted through a series of shell corporations over the past 18 months. Olivia's pulse quickened. The figure was significantly higher than her estimates. "What would you do with this information, Ms. Reed?" "Report it," she answered without hesitation. "To the board, possibly the SEC." Harrison's expression remained impassive. "And if I told you those funds were being used for purposes that, while technically outside shareholder approval, served a greater good?" "The law doesn't recognize greater good exceptions to financial fraud, sir." The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Indeed." He stood and approached the window. "You have remarkable potential. Ms. Reed, I've been watching your career with interest." Then he turned and whispered words that sent ice through her veins. "I know what happened at Meridian Capital before you came to us." "I know what you're running from." Olivia's composure cracked. "How could you possibly—" "I make it my business to know everything about those closest to my operation." Harrison returned to his desk. "Now we both have secrets. The question is what we do next." He slid another folder toward her. "My proposal. Review it tonight. We'll speak again tomorrow." As Olivia left the alabaster tower, clutching the unopened folder, she knew whatever it contained would change everything. Whispers in the archives. Darius Mercer had spent 5 years in the basement servers of Corvus Industries, surrounded by the comforting hum of machines that never judged his social awkwardness. The IT specialist's expertise with data retrieval had earned him respect but never attention until today. "You're sure this is secure?" Olivia asked, glancing nervously at the door of the server room. Darius nodded, pushing his wire-rimmed glasses up his nose. "This terminal isn't monitored. I created a blind spot in the system years ago. Sometimes I just need to—" He trailed off, embarrassed. To breathe. Olivia placed Harrison's folder on the desk. I need to understand what I'm dealing with before I decide. And you trust me because... Darius asked, genuinely puzzled. Because you filed 3 cybersecurity warnings about the same shell corporations I found in the financial reports. Warnings that were buried. Darius's eyes widened. You actually read those? Nobody reads those. I read everything, Olivia said simply. For the next hour, they combed through encrypted files. Darius's fingers dancing across keyboards while Olivia translated financial codes. Their breakthrough came unexpectedly. An email chain between Harrison and Eleanor Voss, the company's revered COO. Wait, Olivia leaned closer. That's the employee pension fund. They're using it as collateral for private investments. Darius frowned. Is that legal? Not remotely. And if those investments fail, thousands lose their retirement. Darius finished, his usual stammer vanishing as the implications settled in. Olivia straightened, rubbing her temples. Eleanor Voss, I can't believe it. She's built half the community outreach programs in this company. Public image and private actions rarely align, Darius murmured, then flushed when Olivia looked at him with newfound respect. Can you get me everything on these transactions? And on Eleanor specifically? Darius nodded. But it'll leave digital fingerprints. They'll know someone's looking. How quickly? Depends who's watching, hours, maybe days. Olivia considered this. Harrison already knows about me, but nobody notices you, do they? Something flickered across Darius's face. Pain, then resolve. No, that's my superpower. He turned back to the screen. I'll need time, and you should maintain normal routines. As Olivia stood to leave, Darius spoke again. The proposal Harrison gave you, what does it say? A promotion. Chief Risk Officer, reporting directly to him. Triple my current salary, she paused. And a confidentiality agreement that would prevent me from ever disclosing what I found. Are you considering it? Olivia's expression hardened. My mother raised me to believe that comfort purchased with silence cost too much. Darius nodded, something shifting in his posture. Tomorrow night, the charity gala. Eleanor will be there, and the security systems will be focused externally. I'll have everything by then. After Olivia left, Darius removed his glasses, suddenly looking older. He'd always been invisible at Corvus, the awkward tech guy people only sought when systems failed. But now someone had seen him, really seen him. He thought of his father, who'd lost everything in a similar corporate scheme, how the man had withered afterward. Dignity stripped alongside his savings. Darius opened a secure browser and began creating the architecture that would protect their investigation. 3 floors above, in her immaculate office, Eleanor Voss answered her phone. Yes, she said to the caller. Someone's definitely looking. But we have time. She gazed out at the city skyline. Everything's proceeding as planned. In the basement, Darius discovered something unexpected in Eleanor's personal files. A photograph of her with Harrison Blackwood, both decades younger. Their arms were around each other, their smiles genuine. Scrawled across the bottom, remember why we started. Remember what we promised. Darius saved the image, sensing it held a story far more complex than simple corporate greed. The midnight confession. The Grand Meridian Hotel ballroom glittered with wealth and pretension. Olivia navigated through clusters of Corvus executives, their laughter as practiced as their charity. Her emerald gown, purchased years ago for occasions that never materialized, felt suddenly inadequate among designer labels. Eleanor Voss stood near the orchestra, resplendent in tailored burgundy, commanding attention without effort. At 58, she embodied corporate femininity, powerful yet approachable, her silver-streaked hair framing sharp features softened by strategic warmth. Olivia's phone vibrated. A text from Darius. She's more than Harrison's COO. They grew up together in foster care. There's something called Project Restoration in her files, heavily encrypted. Olivia slipped her phone away as Eleanor's gaze found her. The older woman smiled, excusing herself from her conversation group. Olivia Reed, Eleanor said, approaching. Harrison mentioned you. Apparently you've made quite an impression. I hope a positive one, Olivia responded carefully. That depends entirely on your next steps. Eleanor gestured toward a terrace door. Shall we? Outside, the night air carried the scent of rain-washed city. They stood alone among potted topiaries, the party's noise muffled behind glass doors. "You discovered our financial adjustments," Eleanor stated flatly. "And now Harrison has offered you advancement in exchange for discretion." Olivia maintained her composure. "You make it sound so transactional. Isn't everything?" Eleanor smiled without humor. "You're wondering why someone with my reputation would participate in something potentially illegal?" The thought crossed my mind. Eleanor turned toward the cityscape. "Do you know what happens to children who age out of foster care without being adopted? Statistically, they face homelessness, incarceration, substance abuse. Harrison and I were those statistics waiting to happen." Olivia remained silent, sensing the significance of this confession. "We made a pact at 17, Eleanor continued. If we ever acquired power, we would use it to fix the broken system that nearly destroyed us." She pointed toward the glittering skyline. "Project Restoration. 12 specialized transition homes for aging-out foster children, complete with education funding, mental health services, job placement, and this justifies embezzlement?" When we proposed using company funds for this project, the board refused. Not profitable enough. Meanwhile, they approved millions for executive retreats. Eleanor's voice hardened. "So yes, we created alternative funding channels. By risking employees' pensions," Olivia countered. "Temporarily leveraged, not risked. The investments mature next quarter with significant returns. The pension fund will be replenished with interest and the project continues. And if the investments had failed, Harrison and I placed our personal fortunes as secondary collateral. We would have lost everything before a single employee lost a dime." Olivia processed this. "Why not just use your personal wealth directly?" "Insufficient scale, and corporate tax advantages enable broader implementation." Eleanor studied Olivia. "What will you do with this information?" Before Olivia could answer, her phone buzzed repeatedly. Darius's emergency signal. She glanced at the screen. "Security and server room, Vincent Carver, help." "I need to go," Olivia said abruptly. Eleanor's expression changed. "Vincent is involved?" "Harrison didn't authorize that." As Olivia hurried away, Eleanor called after her. "Whatever you believe about us, we're not the villains you imagine." Fractured loyalty. Darius's apartment was monastic. Sparse furniture, walls lined with books rather than decorations. Olivia paced while he pressed a cold compress to his bruised cheek. "Vincent knew exactly which servers I'd accessed," Darius explained. "He wasn't even trying to hide that this was a warning." "Did he get anything from you?" Darius shook his head. "I'm better at lying than people expect. Said I was doing routine maintenance. Well, he didn't believe you." "Of course not. But he couldn't prove otherwise." Olivia collapsed onto his worn sofa. "This is escalating too quickly. We need help." "Already handled," Darius said, surprising her. "I called my former ethics professor from MIT. She's meeting us in 30 minutes. Josephine Wu arrived exactly when promised, her diminutive frame and grandmotherly appearance belying a razor-sharp mind. The former federal prosecutor turned ethics professor assessed them both with kind but penetrating eyes. "So," she said, settling into Darius's reading chair, "you've uncovered what appears to be embezzlement, but with potentially benevolent motivations." Olivia outlined everything: the financial discrepancies, Harrison's offer, Eleanor's confession. Josephine listened without interruption, then nodded thoughtfully. The law doesn't recognize noble intentions as exemptions to financial fraud. However, context matters enormously in how these cases proceed. "What are our options?" Darius asked. "3 paths," Josephine responded. "First, accept Harrison's offer, gain insider status, and attempt reform from within. Second, report everything to authorities and let justice take its course. Third, confront Harrison and Eleanor together with a negotiated solution." "What negotiated solution could possibly work?" Olivia asked. "Legitimize Project Restoration," Josephine suggested. "Proper board approval, transparent funding, legal protections. It's possible to do good works without breaking laws." Their discussion continued past midnight, strategies forming and dissolving as they considered implications. Finally, they agreed on approach 3, confrontation with negotiation. What they didn't know was that Eleanor had already made her move. When Olivia returned home at 2 a.m., she found her apartment door slightly ajar. Heart pounding, she pushed it open to find Eleanor sitting calmly at her kitchen table. "Breaking and entering is still a crime. Regardless of motivation," Olivia said, leaving the door open. "Forgive the dramatics. Eleanor replied. But events are accelerating. Vincent acted without authorization from either Harrison or myself. He has his own agenda, which is, Harrison built this company from nothing. Vincent believes we're betraying everything he created. Eleanor placed a flash drive on the table. This contains the complete project restoration files, including our personal collateral agreements protecting the pension funds. Why give me this? Insurance. In case Harrison chooses Vincent's vision over ours. Eleanor stood to leave. Vincent has convinced several board members that we've gone too far. They're meeting tomorrow morning to remove us, and you want me to what, save you? I want you to understand what's truly at stake before you judge us. Eleanor paused at the door. The board meeting is at 9. If you decide we're worth saving, be there. After Eleanor left, Olivia plugged in the flash drive. As dawn broke, she had reviewed every document, every photograph of smiling foster children in new transition homes, every budget projection showing the pension funds not only protected but growing. She called Darius and Josephine. They needed to change their plan. The silent revolution, the Corvus Industries boardroom epitomized corporate power. A massive table of Brazilian rosewood, chairs of Italian leather, and views commanding the city. 15 board members sat in uneasy silence as Vincent Carver finished his presentation. Clear violations of fiduciary duty, he concluded, pointing to projected figures. Harrison and Eleanor have betrayed this company's trust. As head of security, I recommend immediate termination and criminal charges. Harrison, seated at the head of the table, remained impassive. Eleanor beside him watched the members' faces, some shocked, others unsurprised. The boardroom doors opened. Olivia entered, followed by Darius and Josephine. This is a closed meeting, Vincent snapped. I invited them, Harrison said quietly. All eyes turned to him in surprise. Ms. Reed, Harrison continued, I believe you have something to share with the board. Olivia connected her tablet to the presentation system. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Olivia Reed, Senior Financial Analyst. Yesterday, I discovered the full scope of project restoration. For the next 15 minutes, she presented everything, the diverted funds, the personal collateral agreements, the successful outcomes of the foster care initiative. The pension funds were never at risk, she concluded. And the project's social impact metrics show remarkable success. 87% of participants now attend college or trade school, compared to the national average of 17% for former foster youth. Vincent slammed his hand on the table. This doesn't change the illegality. Actually, Josephine stepped forward. It contextualizes it significantly. I'm Professor Josephine Wu, former federal prosecutor. Courts consider intent and outcome in corporate malfeasance cases. Who authorized you to speak here? Demanded a board member. I did, came a new voice. Everyone turned as the boardroom doors opened again. A tall man in his 70s entered, Thomas Reeves, majority shareholder and founder of Corvus, who had retired years earlier and handed control to Harrison. Thomas, Harrison acknowledged, standing. I've been monitoring the situation, Thomas said, walking to the front. Harrison informed me of project restoration from the beginning. The room erupted in confused murmurs. Thomas raised his hand for silence. This was a test, not of Harrison and Eleanor's loyalty, but of this board's values. He gestured to Vincent. Mr. Carver discovered the project months ago and immediately moved to protect shareholder value above all else. Vincent straightened proudly. And that, Thomas continued, is exactly why he failed the test. Vincent's expression collapsed. Corvus Industries was founded to prove that corporate success and social responsibility can coexist, Thomas explained. Harrison and Eleanor created an ethically questionable structure, yes, but one that absolutely protected employee interests while addressing a critical social need. He turned to Olivia. And you, Ms. Reed, demonstrated the ideal balance, questioning improper methods while recognizing worthy goals. Thomas surveyed the board. Today we vote on 2 items. First, to properly authorize and fund project restoration. Second, to restructure leadership. When the votes were tallied, project restoration received unanimous approval. Harrison remained CEO with Eleanor as COO. Vincent was reassigned to a subsidiary overseas, and Olivia? She became Corvus's first chief ethics officer, with Darius heading a new technological transparency division. Together, they would build an infrastructure where doing good wouldn't require breaking rules. As the board dispersed, Harrison approached Olivia. "You could have destroyed us," he said quietly. "And you could have corrupted me," she replied. He almost smiled. "We need people who cannot be corrupted. And systems that don't require corruption to achieve worthy goals," she added. Later, as Olivia cleared out her old office for her new one, she found a handwritten note from Eleanor. "Morality without compassion is just another form of cruelty. Welcome to the real work." Outside her window, the city continued its relentless pace, unaware that within one of its tallest towers, a silent revolution had just begun.